welcome to Soul Play. Our guest today is Joelle Robertson, a Canadian-born artist, musician, and lead vocalist and bass player for indie dream pop band Echo Resort. For as long as Joelle could remember, there has been a desire to create. As a child, she played with the idea of being an animator or artist, but after finding 60s and 70s rock and roll, she decided that music was her true calling. This realization did not come easy. Through years of peeling back the layers of insecurity and self-doubt, she experienced hard lessons on the road to creative liberation. Healing and self-reflection opened a door. A dream presented itself, and there was no turning back. In our deep discussion, Joelle shares her journey into music, beginning with her early desires to express herself, through struggles with self-doubt and creative blocks, to finding a nurturing community in Chiang Mai, Thailand. We delve into Joelle's transformative experience of confronting personal fears and limitations through therapy and self-discovery, and how this has influenced her music. Joelle emphasizes the importance of community, authenticity, and facing one's fears for personal growth and artistic creation. The discussion covers the therapeutic power of music, the process of songwriting within Echo Resort, and the personal evolution that shapes her artistic identity. Joelle leaves listeners with a message of hope and encouragement to pursue their passions despite internal and external obstacles. And without further ado, I welcome Joelle Robertson. Joelle, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi. I'm so excited to have you on. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, here we are. I've been waiting for this moment. Joelle is a dear friend of mine who inspires me in many ways, which we'll be getting into today. A big thing is, of course, music. And I've really worked through a lot of things, listening to your songs, feeling less alone, feeling more at ease in myself and the world. So I'm really looking forward to having you on and chatting about all of this and your beautiful self. All right. So at the top of the set, I will have introduced you to our listeners, but if you don't mind taking a moment to just introduce yourself and let us know why you're here.
Sure. My name is Joelle. I am a musician. I'm a bass player, guitar player, and singer. Currently, my main project is Echo Resort, so I feel like that's something we will talk about today. Yeah. But I'm also a community lover and a person that just enjoys making spaces for people to come and express themselves as well. So yeah, building community and holding space for expression is also a very important part of my life.
That's such a beautiful aspect of you. And I've appreciated when I first got to Chiang Mai one time coming north from the south of Thailand, Joelle welcomed me into her home, got to live with your beautiful kitties for a few months together. And yeah, it was wholesome and deep and painful and beautiful and magical and comedic. It was the full spectrum. And I learned a lot from you and myself in that time. You really inspire me to show up authentically. And it's one of the main reasons that I brought you on. I appreciate you and the way that you show up in the world. And I think if we can start, how did you get into music? What did that look like for you?
Wow. I guess we'll go way back for this just to start, because I feel like expression and being an artist has always been a strong desire for me, even as a young kid. At first, I wanted to be an animator. I wanted to express myself that way. So I drew a lot when I was a kid. And then when I got a bit older, when I was a teenager, I was into music a lot. I watched music videos. I was into old rock music like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, music that my mother introduced me to, really. And I learned to play guitar when I was about 13. Yeah, so it's been a part of my life, I think, for a really long time. But starting at 13 was when I started to learn. But there were lots of roadblocks and things in the way, like not believing in myself or getting to a point where I'm having a creative block or I don't know what to do. I was mostly playing just cover songs at that time, but I found a lot of joy in it. And I met with my friends to do that. Yeah, so it's just like a lifelong mission, if you will, where I find it and then I lose it again and I get caught up in life and then it comes back to me. So I would say, though, now living in Chiang Mai, Thailand, a big reason why I ended up here was because I saw a vibrant music scene with people that really supported and uplifted each other in the process. And so when I was traveling through Southeast Asia, I just wanted to come back here. Chiang Mai was the place where I really started to want to perform and like be on stage, or I had the bravery to do it.
Wow. Good for you. And it helps when there's a wholesome kind of connecting and welcoming community, as you mentioned. I would agree with that with Chiang Mai. A lot of artists, a lot of creatives, a lot of people that want you to thrive, genuinely.
Yeah, and people that want to give you a chance, even if it's just the beginning and you're nervous and you don't have maybe the confidence, but you're willing to take that step out of your comfort zone. And people are very supportive of that here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. And what did that look like for you? Were you doing your own solo stuff, or did you immediately go into a band?
So surprisingly, I hung out with a lot of musicians. I even dated musicians. I often wanted to date people that I was inspired by, that I kind of wanted to be like, you know? So I got myself into some circles. But I think one thing that I wanted was to have a living space to be able to express. So I wanted to actually create that for other people, but actually mostly for myself. So I ended up living in this place, which was a brand new cafe in Chiang Mai, and running it with a friend. And I basically made an open jam space where people could come and just play music freely together, not like an open mic, more like people are playing together. And I pushed myself into that space as a leader. And so I had to get people comfortable. I had to get people going. And I think because I wasn't like a very experienced musician, it was actually quite a door to open people, because they would look at me and be like, oh, I can do it too. If I can do it, you can do it. You know, we're just doing it. It doesn't really matter. And so, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, a bridge to stepping into our power and knowing that we can, with community and support and time and dedication and just showing up, right? Thank you for creating these spaces in Chiang Mai. Thank you for delving in, and very brave to step into that. And so how did you stumble upon Echo Resort?
So actually, I'd like to actually start maybe with Dirt Doll, because this was the first band I was truly in. And it was a band that I always desired this, and I never knew how to make it happen. And friends of mine had asked me if I could join them to play bass, which is wild because I didn't know how to play bass at all. I was only currently doing like acoustic music, writing my own songs and as a singer-songwriter. But they trusted me and they wanted me to be a part of their family, their group, their band. And yeah, it came at a time when I really was asking for that. So during that time, I learned how to play bass, and we played around Chiang Mai, and it was an amazing experience, truly, because it's what I always wanted. And when I was in that band, we were playing a show one night, and there was a friend had come with another friend who was actually a producer, and he just asked me at one of the shows, after the shows, if I wanted to collaborate with him for some unknown project that I didn't totally understand at the time, but I said yes. But I was terrified, obviously, to show up to this producer's house, not knowing like how it was going to go or what we were going to do or what was even happening. And so, yeah, basically I said yes to that and I went.
Amazing. And again, the theme of brave continues to come up, right? Because there is that imposter syndrome. Oh, me? What? No, I can't be. You can't actually want me to come to your house to do that, right? And to say yes and show up. And wow. And what did that turn into?
Right. So yeah, imposter syndrome is 100% real. And I feel like I still battle with that.
Welcome to the club.
But what did that look like? I met with him in his studio and a few other people showed up and we were like, okay, we're writing music for a competition and we have only 2 weeks. We have 2 weeks to write 2 songs, record them, and submit them to the competition. So they wrote the song, the music. I was there. I was sitting there. I was waiting for the process and the song was written and I went home and I was like, wow, this is crazy. I mean, I didn't record the vocals yet, but I basically just went through my journal, opened it up, and I just sang a poem that I had written during the beginning of the pandemic. And yeah, I just sang it right in the studio, just like that. First time ever recorded. And that is the version that is available on Spotify. It is the first time I've ever sung that song. And it was quite magical how it kind of like came together like that, our first song.
Wow, what an opportunity. I mean, I didn't even know that about the journal bit. I knew that the first recording was the done deal. And for those who are keen to listen, like, please find Echo Resort on Spotify, all the platforms, really. Wow. And that was the beginning.
That was the beginning, yeah. And I remember the band members being very excited, like, wow, this is very good. And for me, I didn't think that at all. I was like, this is stupid. I'm stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. This is way out of my comfort zone. It's not good enough. La la la. And it took me quite a while to actually like it, essentially. You know, it took me some time, but we got there eventually. And I was very nervous to show people, but yeah.
Thank you for your authenticity. Here you are, a famous singer-songwriter, bass player. You write your own lyrics, you perform. On the outside, you look like an absolute powerhouse, you know, and you are, in fact, but it's beautiful to get some insight into your own internal cosmos and the process of what it means to be a human with all of our stories and programs and ideas in our mind, and then really being confronted with that. Because I saw you, the community here in Chiang Mai saw you, and the magic that you possess and where you were going with this band. And of course, as a fellow human, I hear you and I understand where that voice comes from, but it's beautiful that you've overcome that. Beautiful that you face it, that you go through it.
Yeah, exactly. And the lyrics for that song were really like just written about the collapsing of the world as I saw it when the COVID pandemic happened, and how we're kind of like at a choice point about what we want to rebuild it as, you know?
Powerful. Yeah, it's called 2020 Vision. Yeah, I remember when the music release was happening, it was another big realization that you are capable of magic with yourself, with this band. You have huge messages to share, and it's proven throughout the course of the EP that you released in 2022 called The Beginning of the End. You've recently had some singles that you've released as a band also too. I listen to these songs regularly as I struggle in this life and as I dance and have a joyous time in this life. It's relatable in many ways. Your lyrics really explore the depths of what it means to be human, covers themes like death and rebirth, trusting ourselves to go through the process rather than above or around it. Very inspiring. So if we could get into maybe one song specifically that I'm thinking of that really does go with what we're discussing here right now, is Through. So it's a song, I'll give a little preface here, but I'll let you get into it. But in my experience, it's been a song about being a human, you know, and being faced with the constant distractions to numb out, and then choosing to meet ourselves and the world instead. Could you go into this song and the writing process and how it feels even years after you've written it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually going to go back a little bit to what happened after 2020 Vision, because what happened is we did the competition. We won in the sense that there were about 30 bands that applied, and there were 11 that were chosen to do a battle of the bands. And for me, this was crazy because, one, I'm in Thailand and all of these bands are Thai. I'm in this whole world that I've never even knew about before. And we're going into a battle of the bands and we're playing this song that we just written. We're not even a full band yet. We just wrote these songs a few weeks ago and now we're battling it out with real bands. And it was wild, and we got accepted, which involved getting a music video made and all of these things. And it was like happening so fast. All of these things that I wanted to happen were happening so fast. I couldn't even believe it was happening. And so, I mean, again, that comes back to like imposter syndrome. I wasn't meant to actually have all of these things. Like, it was an accident. That song was a fluke, la, 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 la. All of these voices are like coming at me. It was very exciting and very scary too. So when it comes to Through, this was a song that came to me when I was very much battling these ideas that I wasn't good enough. I'm not supposed to be here. This isn't for me. All of these things. And so I really had a moment where I broke down because I could see it. I could see this like dream that I've always wanted at my fingertips right here. Like it's happening. I can't even believe it's happening. And then I saw this immense pain of not being good enough. And I had to really make a choice. I could either like ignore that pain and forget about this band and just carry on as normal and be the same as I was before, I guess, comfortably.
Fall back into familiarity.
Right.
Yeah. Avoid all these scary voices.
Yeah. Or I can really go into that pain, go into it. I knew that was the only choice. I had to face it head on. And I had a very triggering moment where it came out. I'm not good enough. And I actually decided to go to therapy because I can't lose this opportunity. I can't lose this. I know if I let this go, I will regret it for the rest of my life. And so I went into therapy. I did hypnotherapy and just worked on myself and worked on that thought that wasn't true. And it was like a very intense process. I felt for sure like I was about to die. Absolutely. Felt like I was dying. And I had to feel that. I had to fucking feel that. And I think it takes a lot of bravery to do that. And I'm just so glad I did. I'm just so glad I did. And I wrote this song about that, about like, oh, why do I just ignore these feelings that are deep inside of me to stay comfortable? Because I know that if you go through that intense pain, death of yourself, death of a part of yourself, that's not even true. It feels like death, though. It feels so real. Then something beautiful happens. And so, yeah, this song is about that. It's about being brave. It's about going into your fear. Because I think that's where your like passion and your drive and your purpose is.
Mm-hmm. What a message. Yeah. And it's so true, Joelle. It's so terrifying and scary and truly is synonymous with death because there is a part of you that is dying. So this voice that is shackling you, holding you down, with all of these voices claiming that you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you can't make it, you can't do it, that part of you becomes less charged. So whether it's gone fully, maybe not. But over time, of course not. Yeah. As Joelle's shaking her head here, yes. But the charge can be diminished, and there's a form of death in that. And it does take a lot of bravery because it's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, and to be honest, a lot in my life did die along with it when I made that choice. I had relationships that I had to let go of. There were patterns that I were repeating that I needed to let go of. It sent me on my own kind of spiritual journey as well, which is a gift. But it's hard to let go of the things that you love, people that you love, to like grow.
To grow. Thank you for bringing attention to that. It's so true. It's not even just one action. It's our whole lives can, the puzzle can be shaken up and let the pieces fall in such new ways. And at the time, it's also, you're grieving the loss of some of these things, mourning the loss. And at the time, it may also feel like things are caving in, but ultimately, where one door closes, that door where you choose yourself, right? Rather than these voices that are keeping you small, then the expansion, the growth, stepping into your true essence, right? And authenticity. It's beautiful. And what are we here if not to show up in that way?
Yeah. And I have to say, too, I kind of copped out for a lot of my life trying to live my dreams through other people. Like, if I am with somebody that's an amazing artist, I can just support them and then live vicariously through them in a very unhealthy, toxic relationship, And so I feel like that was the moment where I really chose me. I chose me, and I had the bravery enough to like
trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, to show up. And so there's been a lot of exponential growth for you. It sounds like personally, musically, spiritually.
Yeah, it all goes together.
And I really appreciate the ties of mental health to creativity here. What is your relationship with healing and mental health through an outlet like music or art?
Oh, absolutely. They go together 100%. And I feel like that's the kind of journey I'm on right now. I'm on like a self-healing journey in which I have this musical project alongside me that like pushes me to face the things that I need to face and also gives me an outlet to express myself through the healing process and hopefully creates a vibration that promotes that in others too.
Yeah, we want to hear from you, listeners. Please go take a listen to Echo Resort, and I imagine it'll be another ripple in the wave. It's a very profound album, and I think that music has the capacity to connect people. Sometimes it's really difficult to articulate our singular experience in this world. And I think music is an avenue that allows us to take a big event or recurring stories, whatever it is, and put it outside of us so that it becomes an entity of its own, and then it can influence people in infinite ways. How do you hope to reach your listeners with the lyrics and the music that you have been creating with Echo Resort?
What I hope to inspire is anything's possible and we all have the ability to make our dreams come true. It's just about going into what feels scary and trusting that you're going to be held or you're going to be okay through it. So that's the kind of energy that I would like to send out into the world. It's a huge desire of mine. It always has been before Echo Resort also to help people just express themselves. And I think that comes from me feeling like I wasn't able to. I think also when we're looking at our purpose or whatever, like a lot of the time it comes from something that there was a lack of. Do you know what I mean? When you were young, like I couldn't speak. So then I had this desire to speak or sing in front of people, which is terrifying. It's the most scary thing I can think of doing, you know? It is my wish that everybody just goes towards what they feel inspired by, you know?
I really do know. It's also my wish. So thank you for sharing all of this deep stuff. So I imagine the nightlife, performing, gigging, going out, and having this level energy on the stage is probably quite a lot to handle, right? So if you could speak to that and maybe mention if you have any like rituals or practices that you call on to really remain grounded within yourself.
Wow. Yes, it is a lot. I mean, I always feel the energy growing in me before a show, and it depends on what show for how long that is. It could be for like the whole day leading up to the show, or if it's a big one that I feel more nervous about, if I'm pushing myself even more, then it could be days of feeling like just the energy like rising in me, which often feels like potentially anxiety mixed with excitement. It's kind of the same thing. It's quite uncomfortable. And I think learning about that process is important because then you can kind of regulate yourself a little bit because you know that it's a part of the process. For me, it's not gone away at all. But I guess the feeling of like actually being on stage and allowing yourself to like channel that energy is absolutely like totally worth the uncomfortability that comes along with it. And so I think it's just with practice, just knowing like this is going to come. This is how I'm going to feel. It's going to be hard for me to have conversations with people when I'm like preparing for the gig or whatever. But during the gig with the people, I feel the most joyous. It is just such a beautiful moment of connection that is quite undescribable, to be honest. But I would say it's a lot. It's a lot. Personally, I don't really want to perform every week because it's a lot for me personally. But yeah, before, I mean, I used to self-medicate with alcohol, things that would help me like numb that discomfort. Cigarettes, like how can I suppress it? And I'm working towards peeling those things away because I'm noticing for myself, like one, if when I'm not smoking cigarettes, I can sing better. That's for sure. And then like 2 is like actually most recently, like performing without any alcohol is much better for me personally, like it can help you get rid of the uncomfortable feelings that are going on in you at first. But I feel like the high that you feel when you're performing is so great. It's the greatest high you can feel. And I think the alcohol numbs that out too. So why do that?
Yeah, sure. I'm hearing so many undertones of self-awareness here, right? It sounds like the question, what are the rituals and practices? It sounds like landing in your body, acknowledging what you're feeling, allowing it, and navigating then what can I do for myself to make sure that I feel safe and well and ready. And that probably includes boundaries, like you mentioned. Okay, maybe I have to be backstage on my own for a period of time and come out later, for example. And oftentimes with substances, we kind of push our boundaries a little bit further because we numb these feelings of anxiety and pain and discomfort. So yeah, thank you for that reminder of really landing in what is and evaluating it and trying to be a parent to yourself in those moments rather than push, push, push.
Yeah, it's tempting to numb.
Yeah, especially when it's an habitual pattern. I do understand that these substances are very addictive and there's reasons that people go to them. So not in any way disregarding that huge fact, but really putting a lot of emphasis on self-awareness and reparenting. And what I mean by that is really listening to what's happening within our bodies, within our feelings and sensations. And again, back to through your song, like the sensation that you feel like you're going to die. I feel that way. You felt that way. Humans, whether they have the capacity to communicate it or not, this is normal. Our nervous systems are trying to protect ourselves, right? And so I think remembering all of this is really crucial through community, creative expression, music, art, deep friendships, therapy,
Yeah.
it's we can do this and we are doing this, and you're not alone. And I think that's a really important thing to remind ourselves.
Yeah, and it's a process as well. Like I self-medicated with alcohol in the beginning because this was the only way I could get there. That's okay too. But again, slowly building more trust and safety in my life is creating a space where, okay, I can maybe show up without numbing myself so much, I can slowly.
Slowly.
It's still a battle. It's always a battle.
Yes. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I say cha-cha means slowly, slowly in Thai. Yeah, we can take our time and be compassionate and forgiving with ourselves in this process. Okay, and so what now for you, Joelle? What are you going to be doing with your time between Echo Resort and the community in Thailand here?
So Echo Resort, right now, we're currently working on an album that we hope to release in 2024. The writing process is still going on. Only in the last couple of days, we've been writing a new song, which is very exciting. And the song is about kind of unpeeling the reasons why, or the reasons how I kind of hide myself, from the people in my life, from the world in general. I'm having a bit of an awakening in this sense and trying to find a way to feel more comfortable, like showing myself to myself and to the world in general. It's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, I'm like shaking kind of talking about it right now, but yeah, there's a desire of mine to like keep trying to peel back those layers and find out who I truly am underneath all of it.
And you're doing it. You're doing it. Could you give us some insight? Like, what does the writing process look like for you and your band?
Yeah, it's always a little bit different, but we often just go meet into the studio. One of our band members, C-Game, he has his own studio here in Chiang Mai. And we just try to we start with some type of inspiration. We start with maybe a song that we like or an aspect of a song that we like, or something like that, and use a jumping point from that, and usually layer on, starting with the beats, starting with the guitar lines, then the bass, and usually vocals and synth come last. And that's an interesting process because there's no real direction at the beginning, and we all kind of collectively build it together. So it's a very collaborative experience. I often bring like tarot cards with me to try and also assist with some type of direction if we're stuck or if we need a bit of inspiration. And quite a few of our songs have been directly inspired by tarot cards that I've pulled. And yeah, usually the lyrics are last, and they've sometimes come within some time. We even perform them before I usually finish the lyrics just because it pushes me to channel them out, as opposed to like letting the thinking mind get in the way. Because I fully believe that it's all there and it all wants to come through. It's just like, are you willing to let the channel open and trust that it's the right thing? Because your mind can just like tell you that it's wrong or tell you that it's bad. And if you just get that out of the way, do you know what I mean? Then it can just flow through, which is easier said than done.
But very familiar with that. And our last episode with Rosalie spoke to this highly. And where the magic occurs is through this channeling, right? But it is a process, yet again, another process.
Yeah, for sure. And it takes a lot of trust.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, it sounds like you have a beautiful community of a band.
Yeah.
These are your friends.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, back when we wrote 2020 Vision, we were all strangers. And I think that over time, being together in this type of relationship is very interesting. It's very intimate to create with people and perform with them and all of the things that come along with having a band. It's almost like we're a business too, we're like, we got to run our social media, design our shirts, sell them, all of these things. It's a huge
undertaking
project. And, getting to know people in this way and showing each other your very vulnerable sides in the creation process allows for a very deep connection. That's for sure. And I think that when 2020 Vision came out and I was very stressed that it wasn't good enough and it was like, wow, this is so much. I feel less of that so now because I feel a little bit more held by my community of my band. We all chose to be together. Like we all chose to come together to write music together. And that means that we are all good enough and we all trust each other and we all think that each other has something amazing to offer. And so I think that allows for us to even go deeper with the music that we write, and for me lyrically to go deeper as well. So I feel incredibly grateful to have this type of experience with people. It's a relationship that's different than just a romantic relationship or a friend relationship. It's a gift.
Big time. Yeah. And it sounds like there's such a strong foundation. So it really paves the way for safety. Like you feel secure, it sounds like, in this container that you have so you can show up. And with safety comes growth, right? Because you can take more risks. You can go a bit further and deeper and know that you will be held in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's still scary to go deeper, like, of course. And I think that's why the fear is always still present, because it's like, okay, now I'm safer, but I'm going to go deeper. Okay, now I'm safer, but I'm going to go deeper. And then you're like, okay, I'm still feeling this fear or excitement or whatever, but I can go deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. It's been such a pleasure getting to know more about you and your band. I will give a little shout out to Magic Arrow. This is your singer-songwriter era. And it sounds like Echo Resort has been intentionally taking a lot of your time. Do you find yourself writing solo anymore for Magic Arrow, or in what direction has that taken?
Currently, I haven't been. It's kind of really interesting because, I mean, we change as a person as we grow over time. Do you know what I mean? And Magic Arrow, for me, was, I guess, like a project that started maybe 8 or 9 years ago. And yeah, I have this desire to write with my acoustic guitar some songs again, and I do at times. But the person that I was during that, it's interesting because it's an identity. Like I've created this identity of this person that's playing music. And that kind of needs a little bit of a revamp, you know? And so I'm still trying to figure out, I guess, how to do that, or like which direction I want to go and who am I now? And yeah, because I've had the band and all of these things, like I haven't focused so much on that, but there is a desire there right now. And I've been picking up my acoustic guitar more in the last week or so, a couple weeks. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. I hear you on songs that are written. It was an era, a time, a moment, perhaps that you don't even grasp fully anymore, that sense of being, right? Because there is so much death, rebirth, change, evolution, growth, expansion. But yeah, it's really cool to see music over the course of time. Whether we resonate a bit more or less, that's okay. And putting attention towards what is flowing in this moment, which is very much Echo Resort, is a great idea too, right? Yeah. Incredible. So we're coming to a close here. Would you be able to leave our listeners with a thought, an idea, or a message?
I guess there's lots of thoughts that are against you, that can be against you. There's lots of parts that are fragmented inside of you, inside of me, inside of all of us. They're just there to show you the way, show you where you need love and integration and how to come back to it. And I feel like following your desires, following what really lights you up, what makes you feel alive, makes you confront those parts that just want to come back home, They just want to find a place to be with you, joyfully doing the thing that you've been called to. So, what keeps me alive, even in the darkest times, is that expansion is imminent. And even when it gets really, really hard and looks really dark, there's always just something new on the other side of that. And it makes it worth it.
Thank you. So, Joelle, where can people find you?
You can follow Echo Resort on Instagram and Facebook. We're on Spotify, Deezer, YouTube Music, Apple Music, all of those fun streaming services. So, yeah, you can follow Echo Resort online.
Great. And we'll put it in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure to sit in this realness with you.
Thank you.
That's it for today. Thank you for listening. I truly hope that today's conversation was valuable to you. To learn more about today's guests, including links and resources related to everything discussed today, visit the episode page at soulplaycollective.com. I'm so grateful you're here, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the show. So don't be shy. Send in your comments and let us know how each episode is resonating with you. If you'd like to support the podcast, the easiest and most impactful thing you can do is to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube, and leave a review and/or comment. Sharing the show or your favorite episodes with friends or on social media is fantastic and super appreciated. And finally, for podcast updates, please follow us on Instagram at soulplay.collective and at Soulplay Collective on Facebook and YouTube. Appreciate the love and support. See you back here soon.